Hi, I'm Humphrey. I'm the Senior Design Manager for basketball footwear at Under Armour, and I'm here to talk about the Bloodline. So with this shoe here, it's Brandon's second shoe. We wanted to kind of continue to tell his story as we looked at the product. And so this one really kind of started off with this idea of the Bloodline. At the time we were working on the shoe, we found out that Brandon was going to be a father, and we really wanted to kind of look at that and see it as kind of like a point of like a line of descent or lineage, progression, if you will. And that really kind of starts with this line that starts here on the TPU and the shoe. It creates a supportive element that runs along the lateral side, goes through the midfoot, and then up into the strap. And the Bloodline, really, that line not only speaks to that next chapter in his life where he's going to have a son, Legend, but also speaks about his path as he moved from Gardena, California to Oak Hill, to Rome, and finally Milwaukee in the NBA. Kind of looking at the strap a little more, basically what it does is it starts on the lateral side, comes over the medial, locks down. With each strap, we have a unique strap graphic, so every shoe is different as you look at it. So I think we have like 15 different versions or so that we worked on. And that's just really a way to kind of anchor me the shoe and just keep them really grounded. You know, the next detail I want to kind of point out on the upper of the shoe is this triple row stitching. You see that it runs around the whole shoe. Really, if you remember from the first shoe, the Black Ice, the triple row stitching represents not only the Holy Trinity, Brandon's a very spiritual guy, but also, and probably more importantly, represents his family. It was his mom, him, and his brother growing up. So 3 is really meaningful to Brandon. And if you look at the shoe, it goes all around and it's unbroken. His family's forever. We really want to kind of tell that story and really speak to that. Another element where we tie in that element of 3 in the shoe has to do with the logo on the heel. It's a lenticular logo. They kind of, as you move around, it kind of blends those elements. It goes from like these 3 intersecting lines to the number 3, depending on which angle you're looking at it. And one of the points of inspiration around the logo was the Milwaukee Museum of Art, designed by Santiago Calatrava. It's something that, as a fan of architecture, I noticed every time I go to Milwaukee to see Brandon. And it's one of those like really inspiring design elements in the city of Milwaukee, and we really want to kind of incorporate that into the shoe. It's something that Brandon drives past every day going to practice or going to games. So it's something that not only shows up in the logo here, but also when you look at the bottom of the shoe, it's a very inspired or a pattern that's inspired by the lines of that museum. So you have all these intersecting lines that fan out and create motion, but also a really good traction pattern. Kind of sticking with the bottom of the shoe, and the part that really gives him a great ride is the double layer micro G midsole. So with that, you've got an external as well as internal layer of micro G. It gives Brandon a great ride. It's got more bounce to the ounce. It really gives him a great ride. Keeps everything light. Keeps a really low cushion. So one of the things in working with any athlete, Brandon in particular, is they always have a lot of opinions and thoughts about kind of where they want their shoe to go. There are very specific things I want to talk about from a performance standpoint as well as aesthetics. And really there were 2 key areas on the shoe from a patterning and performance standpoint that Brandon really had a lot of influence. First is this prominent midfoot strap. The strap was something that we had in his first shoe, the Black Ice, and he was really feeling straps, from the standpoint of locking him in while he's on court, but then creating that fashionable sort of appeal for that off court. Because when you look at it from like a jean perspective, like it gives you that nice sort of off court, fashion friendly aesthetic. And the next element, also a performance element, was this sort of the collar. You see it's sort of a lower cut collar. It's really kind of more in that 5/8 zone, but it's definitely lower than his first shoe. At the time we were working on this and kind of building information around how we're going to build the shoe for him to make a better shoe for him or something that really kind of fit with his game. It really had to do with his cut, and he was in the playoffs. He was wearing a low top at the time, and it really felt that gave him an advantage. It made him faster, lighter, and quicker. And so that's really something we thought was important to incorporate into this model. The one last thing I'm going to jump back to on the shoe, it's kind of those details. This comes like another personal part of Brandon's story. We asked him during that time, it's like, you've been through a year in the NBA, how do you deal with, you know, the pressure, the stress of, you know, being in the spotlight? And, you know, he kind of like smiled and thought about it. It's like, you know, well, you know, when the lights are on, I shine the brightest. So that's why when you look at all these models, each one has an element of reflectivity to them, be it either in the collar of the shoe, the strap, or in the case of some of them, the entire shoe is reflective. So it's really just a way to really make the shoe stand out from a distance. It gives you that like 50-yard read. You know, when he's on court, you'll know what he's wearing. And that pretty much is the Bloodline.